Journey family, Pastor John Hampton here with this week's Midweek Conversations. My man, Dustin Agard.
Yes, sir.
Pastor Dustin, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate the Tom Selleck Magnum PI throwback shirt there, bro.
I think I'm going to have to start wearing a mustache when I wear this shirt.
Yeah.
See if I can pull it off.
And a lot of people are like, Tom Selleck, because Magnum PI is back on again, like Hawaii Five-0, but when I was a kid, totally different characters.
Tom Selleck's the guy from NYPD Blue or some New York...
Blue Bloods.
Blue Blood, yeah.
Blue Bloods.
Yeah.
He is
That's
Frank
who they
Reagan,
know now.
one of my favorite shows, Blue Bloods.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I really like that show. We've watched almost all of them. And yeah, he's Commissioner Frank Reagan of Police Commissioner of New York City. But I don't know why we're getting into this.
This is Midweek Conversation.
I like Jesse Stone. Tom Selleck did a Jesse Stone series of movies, and he was not Frank Reagan. He was the opposite of that as a police chief in a Massachusetts town. So anyways, way more information needed. It has nothing to do with Midweek Conversations or what we want to talk about.
Nope.
But boy, God is blessing every week. We had 4 more baptisms this past week. I think that's 82 baptisms, and you were saying earlier today, just the stories, not just the baptisms, but the stories behind them.
Yeah, they're powerful stories.
They really are. They really are.
Couples, I mean, anytime that you see, the thing I look for
Students.
is anytime you see people completely surrendering, when it's, especially maybe when it's not convenient or easy, you know the Holy Spirit's at work.
Yeah.
And we're just seeing students, couples, singles just say, you know what, I'm tired of that, God's calling me. When we're not even doing altar calls. We're not even, it's just the Spirit is moving, and that tells me something more is going on. I love that.
I mentioned this past week's message was about communion and just reinforcing that it's a great time if you have kids in the service with you for parents to teach them what communion is about. And then we had a mom who got baptized, and her 2 daughters came up right by the baptistry to watch the mom, and I thought, what a great moment that is really cool. for your kids to see you baptized, and parents taking the lead in following Jesus, which is what we want.
Yeah, and that happened at 9:30.
Yeah.
Because I was able to, at the 11:15 service, I was able to go to the Journey Kids. Before we start every service, we have a team huddle in our department, and so the children's ministry volunteers were huddling, and I said, listen, thank you for all that you do to share the gospel with kids, but you also create a space for the parents to hear the gospel with no distraction. And that's exactly what happened at 9:30. Because of your ministry, a parent got to hear the gospel and responded. And so just grateful for all the ministries that do go in to allowing people to hear the good news. And communion message was one of those things where we hear about communion, we do it, and maybe we know about it, but I had a lot of feedback of, man, I didn't really know that, or didn't realize that, or I didn't realize some of the detail in it. And so just really neat on that as well.
Good deal. Yeah. Good. One of the things we want to talk about today is something that happened with our staff last week. So we did a staff day. Sometimes we've called it staff retreat, but it's not an overnight thing. We just did it in town. And I want to talk a little bit about that, and we had a special speaker for that. I want to get into that in just a little bit. But if you were to describe Staff Day, what is that, Dustin?
Yeah, Staff Day, to me, one of the goals was our staff for the past 15 months has done everything you guys have gone through, except I see the role of our staff is when people are running out of a burning building, they're running into it. They're trying to help counsel parents. They're trying to help individuals that are in crisis. And so I've not sensed a weariness with our team. This wasn't a response to weariness.
Yeah.
It was more of a, guys, y'all do so much for so many. Let us just take a day to invest in you. And it takes more than a day, but that was part of it, is just saying, hey, we want to encourage you. We want to show our appreciation. We're so grateful. Remind them that God's using them. And so we had some fun. We had some serious moments, but a lot of fun. And we were able to have someone just invest in us in a very practical way, which is your head coach.
Yeah. I kind of look at Staff Day as a combination of when you were in school, kind of like field day and a school trip.
that's good.
kind of combined.
Yeah, I like
you know,
that.
field day, I always enjoyed field day.
Field day is my favorite.
Because you got to leave the classroom, you got to go out, you did some fun activities, you know, ran a race or whatever you did. So kind of a field day, I always enjoyed that. And then a school trip, you went someplace else. So it's a combination of that. We took our staff off-site. We went to Top Golf up in Lake Mary. By the way, if you haven't been there, awesome. And whether you're a golfer or not, I mean, Top Golf is, it's top shelf.
And it's beautiful.
Really nice. I mean, it's a great facility.
The Lake Mary facility is beautiful. Their staff were top notch. Want to give a shout out to Jason, who helped serve us.
Oh yeah,
Jason hosted us, did a great job. Thank you, but they really did. Top Golf did a great job.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We'll talk a little bit about some of the competition that we had a little bit later on.
A little bit of competition.
Yeah, just a little bit. Divided up our staff teams. We invited Dwight Bain, and Dwight is the founder of LifeWorks counseling group over in Winter Park. Been doing that 37 years, I believe he said. And Dwight is a counselor that I see on a regular basis. Dwight gave me a new title for him that you mentioned a little bit ago. So Dwight told me, he said, there's a couple professional golfers that he's been working with as clients, and he said, I'm their head coach. And at first I didn't get that, but then think about that. Your counselor, or my counselor, is my head coach.
I like it.
You like it?
That's good.
So that's going to stay.
Yeah.
So I said, Dwight, from now on, I'm going to call you my head coach, which is kind of what he does. But he kind of shared some really helpful things for us. The booklet that he put together was called Building the Habit of Mental Toughness and Resiliency during times of massive change. Yeah. And so one of the things that we've heard a lot about, Pastor Dustin, is, it looks like we've weathered the worst of COVID in terms of, from a medical viewpoint, but the psychological, the emotional wear and tear that we've just are coming out of, we're not really beginning to see yet. And Dwight kind of reminded us of that. He said, we're probably a year and a half away from the worst of the emotional tsunami that's coming.
Yeah. And he even said it's going to be maybe 8 to 10 years before we even, just the lingering impact on kids, on families, on what could be there, especially if it's neglected. And that's what he addressed, is he was saying, hey, there are some things that, let's just address the elephant in the room. It's when we neglect things in our mind and our heart and our soul that things they go sideways. It
wasn't something Dwight said, but something related to that I read last week someone, maybe it was on Twitter. It's hard to assess the emotional damage relationally when you believe every person you meet could infect you. And for months, that's why, the lockdown, so we thought, well, every person we meet, it could potentially infect us.
Yes.
And that does something to your psyche.
Yeah, and I think it was 2008, 2009, the housing crisis.
Yeah.
Here's just an example of what could come. They said on a national level, there were more kids sent home due to sickness because of the housing crisis. And you're thinking, well, how would kids be sick from a housing crisis? Because it created stress on the parents. The parents would talk about that openly in front of their kids, and that anxiety was given to fourth graders, third graders, sixth graders. And so then there was that little physical sickness, and there can be a kind of an idea of something similar to that. And so here we have a bunch of notes, because your head coach, he did a great job.
He really did. He helped us think through. For one thing on the sheet that I have here, CAS, he said there's an actual diagnosis now. It's called COVID anxiety syndrome, that the Association of Psychologists and all those things have really, or maybe CDC has come out with this, CAS, COVID anxiety syndrome. Which basically says, I'm terrified to go back outside even if I'm vaccinated. I mean, that there are people who, as masks are coming down in more and more places, there are people who don't know how to respond to that. And they're afraid. And even people who are vaccinated, they're still afraid. And there's just an undue anxiety about this. But that's part of what the mental toll that we've been living with.
If you're being told something for 15 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're an adult, that's hard.
Yeah.
But imagine a developing child.
Yeah.
Mentally, how do they go, okay, now mommy, I had to wear a mask for 15 months and now I don't. What do you mean by that?
Exactly.
That's tricky.
Yeah, so, and one of the things that we've, just to reiterate, our mask policy now is it's recommended, but it's not required. And I would say this, it's whatever makes you feel safe. And I think that is a great statement that Dwight gave us. Whatever makes you feel safe. Mm-hmm. If it makes you feel safe, because safety is a real issue. And as Dwight said, particularly for children and children's ministry and churches like Journey, and we're so good about that and already far ahead of the game. We take safety really seriously with our kids.
Yeah, safety is a top priority. Sometimes when we can go a little bit overboard on safety and it might annoy a parent, whenever you talk to that parent, they're always like, you know what, that annoyed me, but I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah.
Whether it's they lost their tag and we need to extra make sure, that might annoy them, but they're going, we're so glad that you take extra precautions with our kids.
Yeah.
And so we definitely want to do that all around with COVID. We've been wiping down from the beginning. We've been wiping down every room after every service, every toy. We've even at some points, we had a whole separate, for the first service, one set of toys, and for the second service, a whole nother set of toys, just to make sure we're on the safe end of that. And so we do take your kids' safety as a top priority. So yeah, one of the things that Dwight, your head coach, now this is what he didn't tell you. He told me, he said, I'm his head coach, but I don't like it when he's my head case. So I don't know if he shared that with you, but
probably next appointment. We'll get to that.
And so he didn't say that, full confession. But one of the things he did is he gave throughout the message this analogy of a cup, and it's got if the cup's this big, it's got a little hole in the bottom of it, and we're always leaking. That's just life. We're always leaking. There's just the wave of life, whether it's a conflict at work or finances, there's just a leak all the time. And if we don't consistently pour in, then we'll eventually run dry.
Absolutely.
And so the conversation was, how are we as staff pouring into self-care?
Yeah.
How are we creating time to allow God and the Word of God and worship to really fuel us, knowing that there's leaks in all of us?
Yeah. And one of the things he did in the little booklet is he gave us some gauges. And on the gauges here, physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, time, career, finances, friends. There's several gauges here, and he wanted you to just say, hey, I'm kind of over on the quarter empty. I'm on the empty side. I'm kind of, got about a half a tank, or I'm operating from a full tank. I think that's a great tool for everybody to kind of assess themselves, to just kind of see where you are physically, emotionally, spiritually, to do that. And you may be at different places on different gauges here.
And I think it's really important. We see this in sports all the time. I think it's so important and neglected that we don't evaluate. We don't self-evaluate.
Yeah.
Say, where am I relationally with my mom? Where am I in relation with my spouse? Or where am I on the stress level? And there'll be times that I'll come home from either a trip or a stressful season and tell my wife, say, hey, I'm on E. So I'm not justifying anything. I'm just kind of raising a flag, or I'll say, hey, I'm in a good place or whatever. And sometimes she'll challenge me, say, are you really? Maybe you're on E. But really, and that's just helpful for her to know that it's not justifying my irritability.
Right.
It's if I don't mean to accidentally snap at you. Can you come alongside me? I've given myself a grade. It's low. Let's walk through this together.
Well, you got to be, first of all, you got to be aware. You got to have some self-awareness about yourself to be able to do that. And secondly, you got to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to be vulnerable. And sometimes it's hard for leaders to be aware and to be vulnerable as well. It's the reason we have these conversations, and really every month we do a staff lunch just to recognize birthdays, recognize anniversaries on our staff. We introduce new people and say goodbye to people that may be moving on to different things. So that's been an important rhythm. This year, from the beginning, we've had a kind of a mental health emphasis in our staff lunch gatherings. And the reason we do that is because healthy leaders can help build healthy culture.
Yeah.
And if you're not healthy, eventually it's going to show up. It's going to show up in your leadership. It's going to show up in your pastoring work. It's going to just show up in your work. And then you can create environments around you that nobody wants to be in.
Yeah, I think no matter what you think, we always duplicate who we actually are.
Yeah.
We can say whatever we want, but we duplicate who we are. And if we're not healthy, then we duplicate a bunch of messed up versions of ourselves. One of the things that we I process is this idea of the starving baker. And that's the baker that's so busy feeding other people that they don't actually eat themselves. So it's the pastor that's so busy preaching that he actually doesn't read the Word of God for himself. It's only for other people. Or the staff member that's so busy serving and building teams and doing all this, they forget the goodness of God. And so we want to be mindful of not becoming the starving baker, that we got to eat. And we see this and he even mentioned this, the head coach, he said, it's just like on a flight. When they tell you to grab a mask, they say, put it on first. You got to help yourself, so then in turn, you can help other people.
Exactly, yeah, the oxygen mask syndrome. So that's a little bit of what we did with Dwight. It's really helpful stuff, really good, and I think all of our staff appreciated it. So Dwight, brother, thanks so much for your deposit in our staff and working with us. Such a cool guy.
And then he stuck around and he played some golf with us.
He did, yeah. He played a little golf with us. So we divided up teams. Yep. So we had 6 teams or 5 teams?
6 teams.
6 different teams. And
6 teams of 6.
Yep, you'll probably see some pictures here of some of the teams that came up. We devised some little competition to go in with it. I do believe that the highest score anybody got was 166.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I don't know who that is. We'll.
Sounds like a pastor story to me.
Yeah, it is. It's a definite pastor story. In fact, I confirmed that today, Dustin. I said, did anybody in any of the bays beat the score of 166? And I don't think anybody did. So anyway.
Did you find out who that was who had 166?
Modesty prevents me from
Pastor
sharing
John
too much.
Invited everybody to Top Golf and then wiped the floor with us. And he did. He scored the highest, 166. If you don't know, Pastor John is a gifted athlete and specifically a great golfer. And so I love golfing with him. The only problem when we golf is I feel like I could focus for about 5 holes. I love playing golf the entire time, but I feel like I could focus for 5 holes. The problem is there's 18.
Exactly.
And when we're on a team together, sometimes I'll just like to poke the bear, just have a little fun, and needless to say,
are you trying to distract me?
We don't
win.
win.
That what you're doing?
I'm not trying to distract you. I just like to have fun.
Okay.
Honestly, this is the deal with golf, and it sounds like I'm making this up. I love golf, and I love Florida. When I get out and play golf in Florida on a beautiful day, I just am more mesmerized by, honestly, the goodness of God.
Yeah.
That I get lost in the fellowship and the beauty that the score, I'm like, But I probably, after taking some surveys, I should probably pay attention a little bit more to the score.
Well, we had fun. Everybody walked away with some kind of prize, no matter what they shot. I tell you, the one game I did not like.
Angry Birds?
Yeah, the Angry Birds. We tried. There's a version of Top Golf that you play Angry Birds. I could not understand that. I could never figure out, and my team was trying to say, well, you want to hit it this way. I couldn't understand it.
So for those haven't played Top Golf Angry Birds, what it would be is, let's just say we're hitting balls this way. There would be a TV here that would almost it would say the virtual reality Angry Birds.
Yeah.
There's virtual buildings and different things there, and you got to try to hit them with the golf ball. So it didn't matter the holes, the flags, none of that mattered. It was just matching the virtual reality. So it was pretty cool, and Pastor John had
he
the
lost
high score.
me at virtual reality. When you start going into that world
Well,
with golf, I mean, you lost me.
Here's the difference. You had a high score of 166. On Angry Birds, I scored 93,000 on one hit. I'm just saying.
Yeah, how about that?
I don't think they kept score differently. I just think it was that impressive of a hit.
I remember walking up to your bay and seeing that like 38,000, and I was like,
it was definitely a different way of keeping score. I couldn't even figure it out, but it was fun.
Well, when we get to Angry Birds in Midweek Conversations,
it's about time
our
to wrap it
cup
up.
is leaking.
Our cup's leaking.
Our cup is leaking, and we're getting close to empty, and we need to wrap it up.
Here's what I would say. We love our staff.
We do.
And I believe we have some incredible staff.
Yeah.
Lake County, our online team, all of our support, our Popka team. And I would just say this, don't minimize the power of a simple thank you. And if you've been blessed by somebody on staff, whether it's just a eye contact, hey, thanks for what you do. When you drop a kid off, hey, thanks for watching my kid, or writing a note, I'm just telling you, it goes further than you realize. And so, last week was just about loving on our staff. We're grateful for them. And
you shared a few notes that people from the church wrote just to say, hey, staff, thanks for what you did this past year in COVID and leading and we do. We have so many great people that I love working with. Enjoy. It's a joy to work here.
Yep, absolutely.
Joy working with you, my man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, we're always loving the journey. This week's message is about graduation moments. Kind of funny stuff. It's called Senior Sunday. So some of our seniors chronologically said, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, well, hang on, it's not for you.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, really one of the messages, I'm not kidding, in this series is going to be called Senior Moments. And we're going to be talking about some of those great challenges of aging and what those moments look like. This week is graduation. So seniors in school are graduating and celebrating that. And that's going on all week.
Yeah, it is.
Great celebrations. And isn't it great that there can be celebrations and there can be actual graduations this year? So grateful for that.
And kudos to all the graduates. They've had to face a lot through COVID, and so they deserve it.
Yeah, so that's the focus of this week's message, and we'll be celebrating with graduates at both Apopka and Lake County and online. You're going to get to see that as well. So look forward to having you join us online or on site this Sunday. As always, we're loving the journey.